Hello, everybody. Good evening. I am here today with another very special guest, and we are going to be talking about finances, financial health. We'll be talking about a lot of different things that help you, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are watching, to kind of strengthen your financial portfolio and any questions that way. My really good friend Lyle is here. He's a great businessman. We actually met about 5 years ago at Rhema Bible Training College, where we were both in itinerant ministry. And he's a great guy all the way around. He's married now, has a little one. Do you just have one right now?
I've got two.
Two? Oh my God.
Yeah,
wow, yeah, so, I know they come fast. He is a father of two, and he has so much experience and so many good things to bring to us tonight. I'm really, really excited, and I'll let him introduce his company called Generous Life and all the things that he's doing with that are great, and ways that he can help you ladies and gentlemen with your financial health. So go ahead, Lyle, tell us a little bit about you and your
Hey guys, so Nora, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity just to speak to your community. I don't take it lightly, so again, thank you very much. I might sound slightly different to some of you guys watching, guys and girls watching. I'm originally from South Africa. The Lord asked me to come to Bible school, instructed me to come to Bible school, where I met Nora in 2013. And it's been a great journey. Just as you step out in faith and you trust God, it's amazing just the plan that He's got for our lives, and it's an amazing one. The generous lifestyle. So I've been in the finance world since 2004, so it's a little bit short of 16, 17 years. And a couple of years ago, the Lord started to speak to me to help the body of Christ take control of their finances. And when praying about what I should call the business that He's entrusted unto me, He laid on my heart the generous lifestyle. And when I thought about that, I realized that there's three areas that God has called us to be good stewards of. It's our time, our talent, and our treasures. So we need to be generous, not only with our money, which we're going to be talking about tonight, but generous with our time and generous with everything that He's entrusted unto us. The talents that He's given you and me, He's placed it on the inside of us so that we can help serve other people. So it's not just a financial thing that the generous lifestyle looks at. We look at those three areas, so we help people become better stewards of that which God has entrusted unto them.
Right. Awesome. And I like what you said about better stewards, because, you know, sometimes you work your whole, you know, you have a goal to be financially healthy and to be able to acquire a home and a car and even retirement. But sometimes you don't know the path to get you there to be able to save. And we struggle with that so much, even as Christians, you know. And even though we have all the biblical knowledge on what to do, or some may or some may not, I'm not sure where everyone's walk is, but I know that I did. But I still struggle with exactly how to save my money, where to put my money, and how it would benefit me the most. So tell us, why is financial health so important? Why is it so important to be healthy financially?
I think that it's a very loaded question, and we could spend a couple of weeks speaking on that very question. But to me, to be financially healthy encompasses so much more than just having enough money in the bank to do what you want to do. Because I look at myself, when I was not financially healthy, we were in a position where we would worry about things. How am I going to take care of things? And oftentimes when your finances is not where God wants it to be, we start to carry the burden ourselves. So to me, it's a spiritual thing as well. It's about me trying to manage what I've got for myself, as opposed to, hey, God, like, you've entrusted this unto me. What can I do with it? And when I have that mindset and that perspective, the burden lifts. So it is definitely a spiritual thing. There's oftentimes when people are not in a position where they want to be financially, there's a lot of stress. And what does stress do? It affects your health. It affects your relationships. So when you're not financially healthy, it's not just, oh, I can't pay my next bill, but it causes you to maybe do things and to carry burdens that you shouldn't be carrying. There's actually lots of statistical research out there that says that a lot of people end up skipping work because they are not in a position maybe to get to work because they're concerned, or if they get to work, they spend a couple of minutes, or sometimes even more than that, maybe an hour or two a day, calling creditors, telling them we'll make this payment. So they're not being effective and efficient and good stewards even on the job, because it just encompasses so much more than just, can I pay this bill? It goes over into your relationships. It affects your ability to even serve at your church, because all of a sudden I've got to work 3 jobs to be able to meet the needs that we have in our household. So I'm missing church, or all of a sudden I can't spend time with my wife and my kids because I need to be working or hustling in order to generate extra income. So it encompasses and it touches on so many things. I think if we get this area right, where God is elevated and we know that He's our source and He's our provider, and we do the natural things that we should be doing too, it just takes that burden off of us. And while I'm mentioning that, I believe oftentimes, and this is also why God gave me the generous lifestyle, because a lot of people are taught to sow and to tithe, which I think is vital, but we're not taught the practical side of things. So I'm giving all my money, or there's a man or woman of God preaching, and I empty out my bank account. And sometimes we can get over into treating it like a lottery. Where I just give. Maybe God's going to provide, but we know that He has already provided. But it might just be that we're not positioning ourselves to receive what He's gotten and prepared for us. So I think the biblical side of prosperity, which I believe God wants us to prosper and being healthy even as our soul prospers, but I think sometimes where we miss it is the natural side. So we know what God's word is saying, but because we don't know what to do in the natural, we're again taking the burden upon ourselves. So I know that the Bible says that God gives me a peace that surpasses all understanding. I know that God shall supply all my needs, but I'm looking at all these different ways to meet my own needs. So,
yeah, absolutely. That is so true, especially going back to what you said about stress and anxiety that we feel. And then sometimes we get ourselves into pickles where we do like the payday loans, and we grab the credit cards, and we take loans from banks that we couldn't pay back. The reason why we were getting loans is because we didn't have the money, and of course you won't have the money to pay back. So you make really desperate and poor choices when you don't have good financial health. And on the spiritual side, you also mentioned that people sometimes they give you the, you should tithe, and they give you the Malachi 3:10 verse about, bring all the things into the storehouse, scripture, and everybody knows that and they understand. But what do you do after you tithe? It turns into kind of like a lottery. Like if I give God 20, maybe I'll get 10 back, or maybe I'll get 25, kind of a thing. And, you kind of get confused. So that was really good info. I like that, because it's the way that a lot of Christians are kind of, they kind of leave you hanging when you leave those services after you give. You kind of like, what do I do next? Like, how do I make this thing work? So,
and you're all excited. And I mean, I believe that we need to respond without giving, and we need to be people that tithe and people that sow, but it's what happens next. So you've sowed that seed and you're expectant, but as soon as you step out the door, reality hits. So yes, we need to make the right confession. We need to be doing certain things on the spiritual side. But why are you going out and maxing out your credit card? Why are you going out and taking that payday loan, as you said, when maybe the Holy Spirit's saying, don't do it, rather do the following thing? So there's definitely the natural and the supernatural working together.
Exactly. So, what can you do right now? Like, what can people be doing right now to try to, after they've tied their 10% and they've been, spiritually dedicated in that way, what are we doing next? What are some ways that I can begin to try to make myself financially healthy?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think, as you've indicated, the word should be our final authority. So first, if you don't have it settled already that God wants you to prosper, then you need to go to the word, listen to sermons that's going to renew your mind to that fact, because I need to know that God wants me to prosper. And again, prosperity is so much more than money. It encompasses a whole ambit of different things. But once I have that settled by being a regular student of the word, I believe communicating with the Holy Spirit too, because He will give you insights with regards to investments, insights with regards to what you should be buying, what you shouldn't be buying, insights with regards to where you should be working. So having a good, intimate relationship with the Holy Spirit is vital when it comes to walking in success in the area of finances. And then from a natural perspective, I think financial education is vital. I think we need to understand at least the basics. I'm not saying we need to understand the intricacies of investing. So what an index fund is or what an ETF is. We don't need to know those things for now. We first need to get the foundation in order. And to me, that starts with financial education. So reading up on or getting some good budgeting books or spending plan books, just so that you can get an understanding of how to take control of my finances. To me, in our household, and this sounds like blasphemy to some people, we don't budget, but we believe in the concept called a spending plan. And the difference between the two is the budget to us personally was too constrictive. Like you can't do this and you can't do this. And you
Right.
can't do that. And we tried to stick within that framework, and we were always going over. And we weren't able to spend on the things that we wanted. Then a couple of years ago, we discovered the philosophy of the spending plan. And what the spending plan does, it's a similar concept. However, you look at what your goals are, and you end up directing your resources on a monthly basis to your goals. So if I know that my goals in my household is to, let's say, to travel or to get out of debt or to be able to send our kids to school, if I look at my checkbook or my bank statements, is my money going towards that? And if it's not, then it's either not a goal or I just don't have control of my finances. So I think if people, the first thing I would do, besides getting into the word and renewing my mind to that fact, is financial education, but then getting a spending plan. A spending plan, as I said, is different to a budget, because what the spending plan does is it helps me identify my goals for me and my family, my household, which we obviously submit to the Lord. And then once we've got those goals, we then make sure that before the money comes in, we already have assignments for the money, as opposed to I'm getting paid and the mortgage wants the money, or the car note wants the money, or food wants the money. We do it the other way around. We know where we want to send the money, and then the money comes in and it's already allocated. So we don't track every cent or every dollar. We've just got it on autopilot, where we've automated a large portion of our finances towards our goals. So we honestly spend maybe 30 minutes to under an hour per month managing our finances, because it's all on autopilot going towards our goals. So from different payments that needs to be made, like whether it's a mortgage or a car note and things like that, we don't even think about things like that because everything's on autopilot. The only thing that we manage, quote unquote, is our discretionary spending, like things like our groceries, maybe going out on a date night. That's what we manage, but we don't track that either. We don't spend, oh, did I spend like $5 on toothpaste and $20 on chicken type of thing, and then you need to break it out because that just becomes so burdensome, right?
Yeah, and you quit.
You quit after like a month. It's just like, this is not working for me, so let's just spend. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself spending more than what you make because you're using a credit card or taking that loan out. So spending plan works for us. And then also, I've got another motto over here is know the state of your flock. So do you know how much you owe? Do you have a plan for how you're going to get out of debt? Do you have a plan to improve your credit? Somebody might be watching right now and they might not have good credit because they've spent too much and they haven't made their payments. But there's a way to turn that around, just by paying on time, contacting your creditors and working out a plan with them. So there's hope. I've seen people that have had poor credit ratings and they've increased it after a couple of months or a year by just being faithful to make the payments on time, faithful to live within their means. That's the big one. I know we talk about fake it till you make it, but the thing is, we're not going to fake it by spending on credit.
Right.
People are truly your friends. They're going to understand where you are. They're not going to put pressure on you to be able to do things that's going to make dig yourself into a deeper hole. And you should be able to be honest with them. I know when I was just myself working and my wife was a stay-at-home mom, we couldn't go out and eat out with family all the time. So there was times where we needed to say no. We'd like to go with you guys, but we just don't have the means. So just be honest with people, and nobody put pressure on us. Or we'd go out with them and we'd split a meal, or we'd eat at home and go out and have a dessert with them while they're having their meal. But there's ways you can adjust it. But if you're being pressurized by others because you need to fake it till you make it, then maybe that's not the right people to be around.
Oh yeah, I know that I call it the keeping up with the Jones mentality, where you want to keep up with your neighbor or your classmates or whoever the case may be that you're trying to impress, and we find ourselves into debt. You know, we buy cars that we cannot afford. We get into homes we can't afford, and sometimes buy clothes and jewelry and things like that we can't afford. So if I'm a person who spend way too much money, I've spent too much, and I'm just drowning in debt. How is it? Any app or any book? Or what should I be doing? What should I be looking at to try to dig myself out of that hole?
So the first thing, as I said, is get on a spending plan so we can identify where your money is going.
Right.
Once we've done that, we can then assess areas where we can maybe trim down Most people say they don't have any money to make extra payments on their debt, but when they go through certain steps that I teach, I can show you that even if you can free up $10 extra a month and you can toss that towards debt, you shorten the period that you're going to find yourself in debt, and also you're going to pay a lot less interest. And yes, we do trust God that He will supernaturally help us to get out of debt, and He'll give us the wisdom and ideas, creative ideas to get more resources to get out of debt. But on that, I've seen people trust God and God brings money, and they go and blow it, and God is like, I gave you that money to get out of debt. So if God does give you some extra income, or if you go through the process where you are looking at your expenditure and you see, okay, I can maybe shave off $20 over here in this particular area, use that money and have a plan for your debt. Just like you've got a plan for your day-to-day, you need to have a plan for your debt, whether you use the debt snowball, debt avalanche, and there's a hybrid of these tools and mechanisms that you can use. With regards to apps that you asked about, there's a few out there. There's if you want to do it for free, there's two that I can suggest. The one is mint.com.
Mint. Okay.
MINT. And then Dave Ramsey has an app called Every Dollar. With Mint, you can actually automatically sync it to your bank account, so you don't have to update things. With Dave Ramsey's version, he's got a free version where you actually need to manually go and update, or you can pay, I think it's like $129 for the year, where you can go and it syncs with your bank account. Another one is You Need a Budget, which is also they've got a paid version. I think they've got a 34-day free trial where you can test it out. With that particular one, you actually identify what your goals are, and then you channel the funds towards your goals. So a lot of people like that one. The one that we actually use is called Clarity Money. And why I like Clarity Money is because I can budget, quote unquote, I have a spending plan for my weekly expenses. So as I said, when it comes to things that are fixed, like my cell phone or water bill and those things which are pretty much fixed, I don't even look at those, to be honest, because I know that on a monthly basis, those go out automatically.
Right.
With my discretionary income or expenditure, in Clarity Money, I know on a weekly basis, as an example, my household only has $200 for the week. So that app allows me to just track that 200 for the week. So whether that's for groceries, whether that's for gas and things like that, that's the only thing that we look at. And we don't update it a lot. We just, maybe before we spend, of the 200, how much do we have left? We've got $90 left. Okay, we've got 4 days left in the month, so we might have to say no to eating out. So it's a different mindset. But if you want to track every dollar or every cent, you can use one of the other apps that I mentioned. For us personally, those are great apps, but we just couldn't track it just became too much, to be honest. I like the fact that I don't have to track anything.
Right.
I just have to make sure that 200 or whatever our weekly amount is, sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's 200, whatever it is. That's just the amount that I need to make sure that we stay, or me and my wife, we stay within that. Something else that we do with our discretionary spending, we do not use a credit card for that. We used to use a credit card for that to get the points, but we found ourselves going over. So $5 here. Oh, next week we'll just spend $5 less, but we spend $20 more. And at the end of the month, we spend $75 more because we use the credit card. So what we do now is we've got a debit card. Where on a weekly basis, we can transfer money from our checking account to the debit card, and that's our $200 for the week. So once that card is depleted for the week, we can't spend any more money. It's similar to what they call the cash envelope system, where you go with the cash and you put it into envelopes. I don't have time for that.
Right, that's the old school way.
That's old school. It works, though. It works. But so what we do is to ensure that we don't go over, because we know ourselves, we, instead of using an envelope system, we use a debit card system for that aspect.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that idea of putting the money on a separate debit card, because I thought about doing that too when I had my credit card, just to keep the credit revolving, or to, pay it off, spend it, pay it right back off, and to try to improve my credit score. But what I found out is that I was spending way more, because you feel like it's not your money, and you have it, and then next thing you know, it's like, wow, I have a huge bill, and I still keep up with the bill along with my other things. So that's a good idea, putting the money on a different card, kind of like the envelope process.
And if you want to keep your credit card going, what we do is we'll buy gas on our credit card. So we've got a Bank of America credit card, and just to keep that going, We know that we're only going to spend $60 a month, so we will use the card for that, and then at the end of the month we could either transfer the money. But alternatively, what we've done in the past too is, as soon as I go to the gas pump, I fill up $25, then my wife might do a transfer that day or that week just to clear that amount out.
Right.
So you're always paying it off, as opposed to waiting until the end and then all of a sudden, oh man, like I spent more than what I thought I was going to do. And we want to make this as easy as possible. You want to take yourself out of the equation, and that way you know that you're only spending your resources on your goals and the things that's important to you. Because if I'm spending $20 extra on something that I picked up at Walmart or Target, like a packet of chips here and there, is it actually taking me closer to my goals? And I'm not somebody that's going to say, don't buy the packet of chips or don't go out and get that latte from Starbucks. If you want to get it, right?
Right.
As long as that's the goal, and if it adds value to your life and you think it's important, then great. But then make sure that's one of your goals. If one of your goals is to have coffee with the girls once a week, cool. My goal is to have coffee with the girls, or in my case with the guys, once a week. So I'm going to set aside as one of my financial goals for each month is $50 for coffee. Some people are going to tell you, yeah, if you don't buy coffee and you make coffee at home, if you invest that money, you're going to end up with a couple of $100,000. True. However, how many of us who have given up coffee actually take that money and then go and invest it? We just find something else to do with it. So if you enjoy coffee, enjoy. Life is too short to live on baked beans and bread, right? But I mean, there's seasons for that, I guess. But it's just about finding something that works for you. And that's why I'll always talk about your goals. What's your goals? Make sure you're spending money on your goals. If this is not a goal, cut it out. Find the goal. Let's push the money or direct the money to your goals.
Right. I like that because, sometimes we say, oh, we'll you'll have that destitute life right quick, or for a season just so you can save, and then you end up spending the money on other things anyway. So it's just better, just like you said. I like that advice about just buy the coffee, buy the cookie, or whatever the case may be, or whatever it is that you're longing for. If you've saved and you've, you have a financial plan and you're going in the right direction, I think it's okay to splurge a little every once in a while on some coffee or a dress that you like, or maybe something small. Obviously not go buy a car or a boat, but the little things.
Hey, if it's a goal and you saved up for it, go buy that boat.
Exactly. If you've saved for it, and I know I'll go in. A lot of the ladies recently have been asking me about credit. Just recently, me and my husband were working on our credit. We were trying to get everything together to try to buy a house. And so in that, we had done a couple of different things to try to improve our credit. We logged into different apps and start monitoring our credit, and we started to dispute things that were old things, or maybe look into like payment plans, minimizing. So what advice can you give us about credit, and why is that so important?
So credit is a very interesting topic yet again. Unfortunately, we live in a world where it revolves around credit. Do we need credit? No, we don't, right? But oftentimes it takes longer to get the things that we probably desire to have than if we just waited. I mean, I could buy a house cash or a car cash, but it's going to take a bit longer. I'm going to have to trust God. I'm going to have to be disciplined in my savings. And I could possibly wait 10 years and have enough money to buy the house that I want cash. Alternatively, I believe even with credit decisions, pray about it. If the Lord leads you, that He's okay with you buying credit, then go ahead and do it. But what you need to do is to make sure that you've got a good credit rating. And why that's important is it directly affects the person that's going to give you the money, or the organization that's going to give you the money. They're confident in your ability to repay it. So if you've got a low credit rating, it means that you either defaulted on your previous loans, you didn't pay on time, you had penalties and interest and all those things accrued because you just weren't honoring what you said you were going to do. If you've got a good credit rating, on the other hand, they trust you that you're going to, if you say that you're going to borrow 100,000, he's going to pay the 100,000 back. And where it really filters through in is when you want to buy something, person with a better or a higher credit rating gets a better rate. So we could be the same age. Let's say John and Sally, they the same age, went to the same school. Sally has a great, because this is the girl talk, so Sally's going to be the victorious one. So she's disciplined. She always pays in time and things like that. And as a result of that, let's say her credit rating is 750 or 800. On the other hand, John, he misses occasionally. He's living on credit, and he's just not paying on time. He's always making the bare minimum payments, and his credit might be, let's say, 550. And they both want to buy a car. He might be turned down because they feel it's a bit too risky. Alternatively, they both get the loan, and let's say she gets it at 3%, but he has to pay 6%. And that's how, unfortunately, the more risky you are to the institution, the more interest they're going to tag onto you, because there's the concern, we got to get something out of this dude now, because he's probably not going to be able to honor his obligations. So therefore, they're going to charge you more. I mean, if you look at credit cards, you can be with a bank, same as scenario, where somebody's getting a 14% rate, but somebody else is being charged 21%, as an example. And that it might only sound like, oh, it's 6 or 7%, but depending on the balance, that could end up being thousands of dollars. And even if you want to take it a step further, like with a house, like you guys are buying a house, if you're getting a mortgage of 200,000 or 300 or whatever it is, that 5% difference or 3% difference or even 2% difference over a 30-year period could end up being $100,000 or maybe more, just in terms of interest, that the one person's going to pay less just because they had a better credit rate.
Right. And that is why they tag on that interest rate. I've never thought about that. Yeah. They tag that on in the beginning because they want to get more money out of you up front. Because you notice they have the principal balance and then the actual interest that you're paying. And then you look and you realize, like, you haven't got anything paid.
Oh, yeah.
On the interest and not the actual
you've been paying for like a couple of years and like, oh, my capital's still like, so yeah. It hasn't moved. Well, like you look at student loans, like I've got friends that owe like 200 grand and they're paying every month, but their balance just gets bigger and bigger because they're not eating into that capital much. Another thing you can do with debt is to just make sure that you're paying more than the minimum. Even if it's $5 or $10, pay a little bit more. That $10, I did a calculation a while ago, and I wish I had the numbers with me, but even paying $10 more on whether it's a car note, will shave your payment period down significantly. It'll save you thousands in interest. Just $10, which we're going to spend on a hamburger when we go out. I'm not saying don't eat that, but if you've got a goal to get out of debt, look at ways to direct some of your money to paying more.
Exactly. I like that. That is so true, because I noticed that recently I bought a vehicle and I have a certain amount of money and I would pay and I didn't even know this. I was just paying, a little bit more than the minimum, but just to make an even number. I'm just really like a person who likes even numbers. So I just wanted to make an even amount. So I was paying about $8 or $9 more a month just to make it an even number or whatever. And what I noticed is that my interest rate kept dropping lower, and more of the money was going toward the actual cost of the vehicle than it was toward the interest. And I was like, what is and I asked my husband about it because he sells cars, and he was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what you need to be doing. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? So that's a really good tip, is just to always pay more. Yeah, I like that. And I know that, like I said, I was saying there's a lot of ladies out here looking, trying to improve their credit and different things like that. So I know that I can pay more and I can do those things. So what about disputes? Like if I want to dispute something or try to get something off my credit, how does that process work?
I think if, like, let's say you've defaulted, what I would do is I would contact the creditor or the person that actually owns the note now. And find out if you can come up with an arrangement to pay it off. Okay. And in some instances, they might totally expunge it, depending on who you get on the other side. They might just wipe it off, or they might say, if you can pay it off within a certain period of time, we are prepared to contact the credit bureau. But there's no harm in trying. But the main thing is just to be in touch with the creditors, especially the ones that you've defaulted with, because it's important. Like if I went and I took a loan from somebody, as a Christian, it's my duty to honor what I do. Because I see Christians saying we want to file for bankruptcy, but then they get out of it. For me personally, and this is my personal conviction, I'm not saying anybody else should do this, and in Jesus' name, I'll never file for bankruptcy. But if there were to be the case, and I came into money after the fact, I personally would go back and pay the people that I owed.
Right,
Because
right.
I got something from you, unless you've forgiven the debt, but you losing out because you've got people that you need to pay to, you've got staff, and you were relying on me making my payment to be able to pay your staff. And we don't always look at it from that perspective. But if you have defaulted, and things happen, life happens, there's pressures that happen. You might be in a situation where medical bills have arisen, so now you can't honor your other bills, or you just lost your job and things like that. Speak to the institutions that you owe money. More often than not, they are understanding. You're going to find the odd occasion where they just don't want to listen, but they'd rather strike up a deal with you because they want their money. And so if you say, okay, I know I said I'd pay it off over 2 years, can't we extend it to 3 years or 4 years? They might say yes, and that could benefit you by not having it go against your record. And again, the whole bankruptcy statement, that's my personal conviction. There might be somebody watching here that has gone bankrupt. If the Lord led you not to do and to go pay it back, that's between you and God. So no condemnation. I'm just speaking about my personal conviction, what I would do. I'm not saying one way is right and the other way is wrong.
Right. I totally understand. Yeah, because I know that some people have. I'm not sure who, but I know we get to those points, and with COVID-19 hitting, I'm sure there's a lot of people who lost their job and they got behind on things, and that's been a lot of people's stories. So that's not foreign for any of us now.
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's going on right now. And I think finances are stuff that a lot of people are paying attention to right now.
Yeah.
And how do we rebuild from here? Like, where do we go from here? We've been out of work, or we've been we've been furloughed, or whatever the case you may be. And some of us, we didn't lose our job, and God will, that was definitely a God thing, that we kept a job and were able to stay focused. And some even gained during this time of a pandemic, which is crazy. Definitely a God thing that that He bought. It's personally my testimony. I've been able to gain during the pandemic, which has been a miracle within itself. But so back to, I know obviously we just talked about credit and getting ourselves out of here. So what should we be doing as far as savings? Because I know we talked about a budget and we talked about credit a little bit. What can we be doing towards saving money once we've gotten, or to try to, just keep an eggs nest for ourselves in case things happen?
So there's a few things that I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. I wasn't planning. But this is one thing which I hop on a lot when it comes to savings. You've got a bank account, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know what savings rate you're receiving from your bank account or from your bank institution?
I don't know. It's really small though.
Exactly. Most people don't know.
You got me.
And the reason why that's important, we get a lot of us that bank with banks because our parents have banked at this bank, or we have always knew them since we were in college, and it might not be the best rate. We banked with a certain institution for years, since my wife and myself were married, and we were receiving under 1%, so point something percent interest, whereas inflation was like 2.8%. So just by saving with this particular bank, and I won't mention their name, we were losing money.
Wow.
We were saving. And then what we did is a website you can go to, which is bankrate.com. Where you can look at different organizations, so different whether you want a savings account, a checking account, or from an investment perspective, and just check and see if there are any institutions that offer a rate above 1%. With that, it's a small, it's not a lot of money, but we bank with a bank at the moment where we're making, I think it's about 1.5%, and we just tested this bank out a year ago, tossed $100 into that bank account. And we made more interest on that $100 in the period of 3 months than what we did at the other bank, where we had a couple of $1,000s in the bank account.
Wow. So I noticed it was really small. Like, I thought this was supposed to be accruing some type of interest. Or, it would never move. Yeah.
Whereas you might as well find a bank where you're going to make it 1.5%. And that's especially with short-term goals, like you're talking about savings. I think before even getting to savings, it's important to have an emergency fund or a rainy day fund, because life happens. Like with COVID happening, none of us foresaw this happening.
Right.
For people that actually had an emergency fund, a lot of them were shielded from this. They were able to pay their mortgage. They were able to pay their cars. They were able to keep food on the table, and they weren't as worried as a person that didn't have anything. And again, no condemnation. We've all been in the place where we just didn't have enough money to set aside money for an emergency fund. But if we say we don't have money, I say even if you can start setting aside $10 a month just for that rainy day, because life is going to happen. Hopefully, we'll be out of this pandemic soon, but other things are going to happen. You're going to be driving to work one day and you might need a new tire, or you're going to be something's going to happen where all of a sudden it's like, oh man, how am I going to pay for this thing? Oh, I've got the emergency fund, which is set aside. I normally recommend between 3 and 6 months worth of income that you need to be saving up to cover your bare minimum expenditure. Some people say 18 months, some people say 24 months. I believe it's a personal decision, but 3 to 6 months for me personally is enough for me to get back onto my feet. So if I were to be in a position where I wasn't able to work for the next 3 or 6 months, if I knew that I had this little nest egg set aside to cover my mortgage, my light bills, food on the table, I'm not going to be as stressed out or concerned as the person that doesn't have anything. And all of a sudden, there's a risk of losing their house or a risk that they're not going to have money for food and things like that. So coming up with a plan, one of your goals should be to fully fund your emergency fund. And then after that, I would say start looking at what your goals are. So what are your 1-year goals, your 3-year goals, your 5-year goals, and even longer term goals? And let's start setting aside money each month for those goals.
Can I ask you a question too? Sorry, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
How much do you think a person, like an average family of 4, I would say, would be needing in that emergency fund? Like, what should be my goal for that?
That is family specific. I know that people would recommend start with 1,000.
Okay.
I think that's a good base. I personally don't think that's enough because let's say a particular family of 4, and their monthly bare minimum that they need to exist if they're going to have to pay the mortgage, food, and things like that is, let's say, $1,500 per month, right? If you're only going to have 1,000, you can't even cover 1 month's worth of expenditure.
Wow.
So you need to identify what's the bare minimum that we need, and cutting out all the luxuries, cutting like going out to eat at whatever restaurant you like, or having money for my cell phone. So stripping all those things out, what is the bare minimum that we need to quote unquote exist? And then I take that amount and you can multiply by 3 or 6 months. And that's what my emergency fund should be. And again, it's money that's spent on an emergency. So that money goes into a particular bank account, which I don't have, quote unquote, access to spend on a day-to-day basis. So with us, our emergency fund is in a particular savings account. We are in a position where it's not our checking account, so we can't go and withdraw the cash. I actually need to transfer money from that account to my checking account, and it takes 2 or 3 days for me to get that cash. So I'll think twice before I want to spend it. The risk that a lot of people run into when it comes to emergency fund, they just let the money build up in their checking account. So what happens? Oh, there's a sale. They end up spending the emergency fund, right? Or something happens, I want to go out with my friends. There's no control in place. And like I said, I'm a person that I want to take myself out of the equation as much as possible. Right. So before I spend that money, I need to think twice about it. But if it's a real emergency, I need to be able to have some form of access to it. So I might have a little buffer. So what we've got in our personal case, we've got a little buffer of I think it's 500 or 1,000, whatever it is, in our checking account, which we won't touch. So if an emergency comes up and I need cash now, I've got access to it. However, if it's bigger expenditure like my mortgage and that stuff, that money should be building up in my emergency fund. So if we were not working, I can then make payments like that. Yeah.
Right. That's good. I've seen some people in my comments saying 3 times your income, which is what you said. That's awesome. Because I know a lot of times you get that money and you just don't know how. And so I think going back to overall, you probably need to know your expenses. Like that's a big thing because a lot of people don't even know how much money that they owe a month. Like what are your bills or what are your expenses every month? And you need to get that number down so you know exactly where you're aiming at. And I like how you said that you need a goal. In the beginning, you said something about a goal and just having a plan. and being able to execute the plan. Because I mean, how could you have an aim if you don't even know what you're aiming at? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like you sitting here blind. But I feel like a lot of people are out here blind, and I was definitely one.
I was there too.
Yeah, I would just get paid and just be like, oh, I like those earrings, or oh, I'll pay my rent. But I was never like figuring how much I was spending every month. And when I really started to write things down and get on the apps and different things and see where my money was going, I'm like, oh, I'm spending way too much on clothes, or I'm spending way too much on food. But you won't know that until you actually come up with a plan or start to really look at your finances. So that's really good. And I know we're talking about savings and stuff. So within savings, obviously retirement would come up. And you know, after work and you've retired and you've done all those years, what are some ways I can be prepping for that as well?
So I think with savings, we spoke about emergency fund and then savings for our goals. So like whether you want to travel and things like that, I think that needs to be a savings account too. So making sure that you're putting aside money for your goals, whether it's the short-term goals too, which is, and we'll get to the retirement question in a minute. But why it's important to identify what my goals are from a savings perspective is, like, let's say I want a new car or I want a new MacBook as an example. I know a new MacBook goes for like say $2,200 on a monthly basis. If I say I want the MacBook within 3 months, 2,200 divided by 3, so I need to be setting aside that amount of money into a savings account. The other option is I can go and I can buy it in credit, and because of interest, I can end up paying $3,000 for this thing, which if I could just been disciplined and save for that, I would be saving $800 as an example. Once you've identified your goals and the emergency fund is sorted out, then we get over into the investing or retirement, right? My advice over there is, the first thing is, if you find yourself working at a particular organization, find out if they've got a 401k or 403b if you are working for a nonprofit. A lot of people I know feel like they can't contribute to that because they just can't afford to contribute to that. In fact, you actually can't afford not to, because if the organization has a match. I know some organizations have frozen the match, and what the match is as an example, every 3% I put in, they're going to put 3% in for me. So they're actually giving me free money. So if your organization is matching and you're saying, no, I don't want to join this thing, you're throwing away money. And I've got a testimony about that. My first job that I worked at this place, the match was 7.5%.
Wow.
And I said, no, thank you. I don't want it because I want to buy my car and I want to do all these things. And when I left my particular organization, my friends who had joined the retirement fund left with a couple of $1,000 saved up, whereas I had nothing. But we made the same money. And they were just giving their little portion each month, but the company's match caused the money to grow exponentially.
Right.
First thing, you're watching this and you haven't started to set aside money for retirement, go and find out by your company whether or not they've got a match. And if they do, pray about joining the retirement fund. You might say, but I can't afford to. Then see if you can, over the next 3 months, if you can free up, even if it's just 1% of your take-home pay, and start contributing that. They say that if you want to stay poor through your life, especially in retirement, contribute nothing towards your retirement fund. People that end up being middle class contribute like 5 to 10%, but the wealthy contribute 15 to 25 to 35% of their take-home pay. So they learn how to adjust their lifestyle so that by the time they get to retirement, they can either maintain their current lifestyle or they can live a better life. But you'll see a lot of people, because they haven't set aside enough money, because they didn't have a plan, they get to retirement and then they need to change their lifestyle dramatically because they can't afford their lifestyle anymore. So I say start where you are, guys. Even if it's with a 1%. Our goal personally at this point in time is we want to set aside, get to a place where we can set aside 10 to 15% of our take-home pay. We're not quite there yet because we've got some other things that we are focusing on, which are our goals at the moment. And but the aim is to get to 15 to 25% of our take-home pay, which we're setting aside for retirement. Yeah.
Right. That's really good. I know that I did that at my when I was working corporate America or whatever. I did definitely take hold, and like with the company I work for, they actually match you dollar for dollar. And
That's
thank
even
God I
better.
did that,
Yeah.
right? So, I was never looking at it, and before I knew it, I was well over 20K. And I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, how did
So
that
how
happen?
did
Because I
you
only was at the company for 5 years. So
exactly?
it was definitely, and I don't even remember what the percentage that I was given. It was small when I first started, but as
Yeah.
I began to promote through the company, I
Yeah.
would always, every time I got a raise or a promotion or
Yeah.
anything, I would raise up my percentage on
Yeah.
how much I was taking away, and thank God I did that, because what I was doing then paid off for me later. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, if you're in your 30s or you're in your
Yeah.
20s or whatever, imagine how much you can have by the time
Exactly.
you're 60 or 55 or whatever your
Exactly.
retirement age is.
And
You just have to know that. So,
and the thing that you just mentioned, Anora, is you didn't even realize, and that's the thing. When I tell people, start somewhere, start at the 1%, then bump it up to the 2%, then bump it up to the 3%, because your life adapts. It's like the same with tithing. People say they can't afford to tithe, but if you start
right.
tithing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, all of a sudden with us, we know that 10% goes to God, and over
Mhm.
and above that, we are just our lifestyle just adapts. So
Exactly.
you just
And you
learn.
just don't.
You just don't
Exactly.
feel it. In fact, you have a better confidence that things are going to be okay in the future. So
Because
I
you
think,
have that nest egg sitting there waiting,
yeah,
and I like, and even though I don't work for the company
yeah,
anymore, I suggest that if you do, like you said, if you do have work for a company that has that,
yeah,
please take advantage of it. It's worth it. You won't even see the
yeah,
money. Like you get used to spending without it. So just go
yeah.
on and go do it if that's
And
something that you can do.
touching on
Absolutely.
that also, like I know when you worked for a company, you did that, but I think I work at a place, but I'm an entrepreneur as well. It's so easy when we are entrepreneurs as well, just to focus on other things and to forget about that. So even if there are people over here who are into business or they're starting their businesses, even if you start and you're just contributing $20 a month, do
Mm.
something. It's better than nothing. And you might say $20 a month. By the time I get retirement, it's only going to be $300,000 saved up. Now, $300,000 is better than no dollars, right?
Exactly.
So there are people that are entrepreneurs over here, like us over here, because I count myself as one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do something. Start with $10, $20. You need a financial advisor? Not necessarily. There's an app that we use, and it's in the document that I sent you. It's called Acorns. I'm not saying that they should use it per se, but it's an app where you can actually set aside funds yourself. You can save
Mhm.
$5 a week. You can save $10 a week. That's one of the apps. There's other apps like Robinhood, and you can go onto Vanguard site and you can actually invest for yourself if you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that list of things that you sent me. There are some good ones on here. And I know recently I just did the which one was that? The little green Robinhood. I did
Yeah,
Robinhood and I bought some stock in there.
yeah,
Not this month, but maybe 2 months ago, and it
yeah,
was extremely low. Like I
yeah,
couldn't believe how cheap stuff was.
yeah,
It like literally the money immediately started to flip for me.
yeah,
And so I mean I earned a lot just from those small little $10
yeah.
stocks I was buying. So yeah, that's definitely a good investment.
Yeah.
I definitely that's
And
definitely a good
one thing
investment.
on investing that I'll just share with you guys, there's a difference between an investor and a trader. A trader is somebody that's trying to time the market. To me, I am more of the person with a long-term outlook. But what we do personally is we invest and the market's going to go up and it's going to come down and it's going to come up and it's going to go down. But we look
Mhm.
10, 20, 30 years into the future. So we continue to invest. Even in this downturn, we continue to be faithful, knowing that in the long run, we're going to get a return of whether it's 7%, whether it's 5%, whether it's 10 or 12% over the period of 20 or 30 or 40 years. But I want to encourage people, like, if you don't know anything about investing, then speak to a certified financial advisor. Because even what I'm sharing tonight, it's purely for educational purposes. It's not financial advice. I'm just sharing my story. But if you don't feel comfortable investing, speak to a certified financial advisor whose belief system aligns to yours, because that's
Right.
important. But if you are comfortable, then consider looking at one of those apps and start small. But continuously educate yourself. The cool part about it, I believe it's on Robinhood and Acorns and on
Mhm.
Vanguard and all those organizations, even ones that I'm not mentioning, they've got sections on their websites where there's investor education for free. So you can go and you can read up on these things and you can learn about investing. I normally talk to my clients about this. I I can't give you financial advice, but I can share my story.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you what stocks to pick and what stocks not to pick. I'm not going to tell you what app to use and what app not to use. At the end of the day, it's a personal decision, but I can just share what we do. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the person. But investing in your future is important, because when you get to that 55, 65 year old, yes, we trust God and we know that He'll provide all our needs. But there's the things that you can do now, which enables you to continue to live a good life, even in your older age.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love how you mix the practical with the spiritual, because it balances it. Because I think some people are really, really spiritual when it comes to these types of things, and they completely miss the practical side. And I feel like you've thoroughly went over a lot of things that we can do practically, like on a day-to-day basis, weekly basis, on a monthly basis, even, you know, as we go through the process of trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to be doing with my money? How do I save my money? Because it's just so much more comfort you can have in your life, and it deals with, like you said, stress and a person who got 50,000 in the bank versus you with none. Obviously, that person is going to be a whole lot less stressed than the person with no money. And you know, and I've lived in that lifestyle, and you know, thank God for my testimony of being able to turn completely around. I've lived in poverty, and I know the feeling of not having enough food on the table or not, you know, and I grew up that way. So a lot of so I'm not saying a lot of us, but I know my family and the people that were connected to me growing up, we didn't have the education or the knowledge of how to financially make ourselves stable. So it's kind of like we were, you know, going blind. But it's so good that you came on to talk to the ladies and just kind of give them like these tips to kind of get them through different situations they may be in their life, especially like I said, with the pandemic going on. So people may find themselves in situations they've never been in, where they don't have food on the table, or they're kind of trying to come out of a, you know, out of a situation that they have not been familiar with. So and why they're doing that. So if I was in that position and I was able to use your services, what services would you be able to offer us to help us out?
So there's a few options, so just depending on where the person finds themselves. I've got some resources that's available. So I've got a book on, it's called a 60-minute financial plan, where I share our process with coming up with our spending plan and how we manage our finances in under 60 minutes a month. And that's one of the resources that's on the list that I've sent you.
Yep, I got that.
I've got three online courses. The one is the 60-minute financial plan online course, where I talk you through and I take you to spreadsheets that I use and apps that I use. I show you the app that I use and how I use it in order to take control of our finances. I've got one called the debt elimination plan, where I take you through how to come up with a plan to get out of debt. And then I've got a smaller one, which is called the how to increase your income mini course. It's more so about refining the thought process about what idea you can come up with to generate extra income. So we have an idea, like I want to start a business, but we don't know where. Or as an example, like you call to serve ladies, but you're not called to serve all ladies. You call to serve a specific group. So I help people niche down to where they know they call to serve, and then we formulate a offering for that particular group of people. So those are three courses over there that I've got too, and then I also do some financial coaching, where I do one-on-one or group coaching sessions where we have discussions like this, where you tell me, okay, this is my situation, and obviously it's completely confidential. I need help with coming up with my goals, or I need help with my emergency fund and things like that. So I help with that. And then also what I'm going to be doing is launching a YouTube channel where I give free resources away to, like where I have discussions like this and put it out on YouTube, whether it's with regards to savings or how an app works or how to invest. So that channel will be launched probably in the next week or two, so I can get you that information. And I'd appreciate if you guys can subscribe to that, because it's going to be resources that's going to help people, and it's going to be free. The paid resource would be the book, and then also the courses. So you've got the link to the books, and in fact, the course.
You give me the link for your YouTube page as well.
I will. Yeah, I'm actually going to set it up this week, because I just feel that's another way to help people. So I can help people by giving them free resources like this. But with regards to the course and the book, so the book, you walk through it, it's helping a lot of people. I've got people in Asia who's purchased the book, people in different parts of Africa, people in the States, and it's helped them. And then I've got people that have taken the course, which is a bit more focused because I walk you through. So in the book, this is what we are saying, and this is how you do it. And then obviously with the coaching, we can have a discussion like this where I can look at your personal stuff. Either you can show it to me or you can just sketch the scenario. So how do I come up with my emergency fund? This is my bills, without showing me the detail behind it. Or if you feel comfortable, show me the detail. Obviously, there's confidentiality agreements and things like that too.
Right.
But I say if somebody's starting out, I would say consider getting the book and then consider getting one or all of the courses. And in fact, the courses range from $197 to $397. But for your group, I can send you guys a coupon where you can get all 3 courses for $97. So I'll take off, I think it's like 50 or 60% off the price. And if people feel that they don't have the money, they can tell me which one they want, and I'll give a individual course for $57, just because my heart is to help people. I don't want cost to be a reason for people not getting the help that they need. Like I said, I've sold these courses, or the price is significantly higher, but because you entrust me with your community, I would like to give them a discount should they want that. And how they can get that is if they can just email me at the email is in the Google Doc that I sent you.
Okay.
And they can just reach out to me and mention your name so that I can create a Girl Talk coupon for them. So they'll come to the sales page and it will be the normal price, but with the coupon, they'll be able to get it at a significant discount.
That's awesome. Yes. Good. Yeah, I have the website, guys. I'll definitely post it down at the bottom, and I'll post it in the group. I'll put the whole and I'll highlight the one that they need to go to. And that the website that you gave me, the Generous Life, did they just go to that one and be able to order?
They can go to that one, but I've actually got links that I've sent you in the Google Doc too, to the different courses. But if they want to email me, if they want all 3 courses, they can email me and I can respond to them. Or they can send me a message on Facebook and I can respond to them. Or if they just want one of the courses, they can do that. But if they want the book too, reach out to me. At the moment, I've got actually my books retail for $15 each, but I've got 2 books which I'm giving people for $20. It's a book on the finances, but also a meditation book which allows you to hear from God more clear, and it will help you make better financial decisions. So that's $20 at the moment for the 2 together. So not $15 each, which you've got the links to that too.
Yeah, I have it all. I'll make sure you ladies, and you ladies, make sure you go out and get the book. And definitely listen to the courses that he has, because he has so much knowledge and he brings clarity. That's what I love about hearing him speak, is that he clarifies things that you may have a question about, or things that you just, as you're struggling, or you might be trying to figure all this thing out. You can go to those. You can sign up for the courses and read the book, and it'll give you some knowledge, some extensive knowledge on what you need to do, kind of a guide to get you to where you need to go. And like he was saying, if you need a personalized touch and you want to actually go through your own personal finances, line by line type of a situation where you completely, want to go through and get all that done, he'll be able to help you guys with that as well. So you guys can reach out to him, like he said, on Facebook or his email address, which I'll post below, and I also posted into our group and on our page. So I know you ladies have been asking about this, and I hope it's helpful to you guys and that you've learned something tonight, because I know I learned like 4 or 5 things, especially about my bank. I need to go find a bank with a good savings.
Go to
and I'm gonna be doing that tomorrow. What was the name of the website where I can look and see where the banks are that are giving out the good rates?
There's bankrate.com, and there's another one called Nerd Wallet.
Nerd Wallet. Okay.
Another thing that I do, Nora, is not just the individual coaching, but group coaching too. So there's a bunch of ladies that want to do like a group coaching session where we get together once a month or for 3 months for like an hour or 2 on whether it's a Friday or something like that, where we can just together. But it's got to be in a setting like that. From a group coaching perspective, it's people that you trust, for one, but also it's a bit more general, like discussion like this, where people can ask questions, but then offline we address you specific things. Sometimes people prefer that because you grow together as a community, and you could ask a question. So where should I put my emergency fund? And I'll tell you, like, for emergency fund, this is a good place, or look at the following institutions where you can get the following rate. Or if you want to invest, this is what you should be looking at, without me directly telling you and advising you, but more like it's more discussion based. Whereas one-on-one, we go through the intricacies. I mean, I enjoy individual and group, but if people are just able to get the book, that's great. I believe that it will help them. If they're able to get the course, it's a step up from the book, which is great. And then the coaching is where things really happen, because you're able to ask questions. Whereas with the course, you can't exactly ask me, so I'm like, how do I do this? But if you can't do the coaching, then the courses will definitely help. I've got people like in a few countries that have gone through the book as well as the courses, and it's helped them. And I take no credit at all. It's the Lord, because He gave me the vision to help people like this, and He's taught me along this way. So I've by no means arrived, but definitely what He's taught me is help people. And my aim is to empower and impact 10,000 families to get financial freedom and victory. Not just freedom, but victory, so that they then in turn can teach other people, and also they in turn can then become entrepreneurs, and they can be people that don't carry the burden of debt, so that they can do what God has called them and placed in their hearts. So that's I'm on a mission to help 10,000 families, whether it's through my books, courses, or coaching, so that we can then not worry about money and do what God has placed in our hearts.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm excited about you doing all that you're doing, and I know you'll reach your goal, because what you're doing is beneficial to a lot of people, and I know that they will benefit from what you're doing. So keep on doing it. Is there anything else you want to add to the ladies, or say to the ladies else to them tonight, just to keep them encouraged with their financial goals?
Just as we close, guys, I've been in, maybe you find yourself in a position right now where you feel like there's no hope. I don't believe that you're watching this by chance. There's no chance in the kingdom. But I just want to encourage you, just keep your eyes focused on Jesus. Spend time in the Word, but don't forsake the natural principles. I found myself a few years ago in a position where I didn't know I was going to pay for things at once. Or at Raymond, I came down to one day where the only thing I had to eat was Fruit Loops. I didn't have money for milk. I didn't have money for milk or anything. And through that, I learned to trust God, and I learned these natural principles, which has now positioned me to teach other people. So God has given you a dream. God has given you a talent that the world needs. So I'm trying to tap into what God has placed in your heart. And when it comes to finances, just trust God, tithe, but don't forsake the natural. I just honestly, Lois was just saying, there's a lot of people watching that they've tithed and they've sowed and they've questioned God's goodness, but God is a good God. But it might just be that you have not applied some of these principles, and as you do that, God's going to allow you to get out of debt quicker. God's going to allow you to do the things that you want to do, that He's placed in your heart. So I'll leave you with that. Just continue to be faithful with your tithes and your offerings, but beyond that, whether you use my resources or somebody else's resources, there might be somebody who fits you better, or there might be other resources that you can get at your library or online or on YouTube and places like that. But do something, because if you want to get to a destination, you got to do something, right? It's like the person that looks in the mirror and forgets who they are. We've got to be doers, not only with the Word of God, but with whatever knowledge we've got. I believe that we'll be held accountable one day for not doing the thing that God has placed in our heart, especially if we've been provided the tools to do so. So God is good, God is faithful, and I thank you for this time. I enjoyed it, and I trust that the ladies that are watching enjoyed it.
Yes, I'm sure they did. They asked me a ton of questions out here. I didn't get to. Some of them are on. We have 3 streams at the same time.
Yeah.
But I know that on here, people just saying thank you. Good topic. We appreciate you doing this. Some people said hello. They were just shouting out hi to you. Some of our Raymond friends.
Hey guys.
Yeah, so they were shouting you out in the comments. But I'm so glad you came and did this with me. It was awesome. It was everything I thought it would be. So and I hope that I can have you back too. And then maybe like I was saying, or like you were saying, we can get a group together, a group of ladies who can do one of your group classes, and you can teach us as a group. And I'd like to do that. I'm definitely going to put that out to my ladies.
Yeah, let's do that. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we definitely want to continue to grow. I know that I want to continue to expand my financial knowledge and continue to grow that, especially going into home ownership, and then
Yeah.
eventually, hopefully, buying a building for
Yeah.
us with Girl Talk. So
Not hopefully, we're gonna buy that building, right?
yes,
Gotta eat that live.
yes. I'm excited. I'm speaking that into existence that we'll have a building, a physical
Amen.
location one day.
Amen.
And so that's some of our goals that we have, you know, just as our group, and me and a couple of our board of directors, and we're excited and we want to do those things. But thank you again. I appreciate you, and hang tight, ladies, and I'll repost all the websites that we went over today. And then are you on anywhere besides Facebook? Are you on Instagram as well?
If we are not friends on Facebook quite yet, feel free to add me. I'll get you the YouTube details as well. So that'll go live probably like in the next week or two.
Okay.
I am on Instagram. I'll send you the details too.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm on one or two other platforms, but my main focus to get the word out from a financial perspective is going to be YouTube, my Facebook profile as well, and then a bit on Instagram as well.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all heard it, ladies. So he's saying you guys can inbox him, or we can, if you have questions about the financial or the class that he offers, the book that he has. He also has a website, and like I said, I'll post everything into the group, so you guys won't be left out of anything. We'll post all those links and all the books that he talked about, and also, or the book that he talked about, and the apps that we talked about as well, the savings apps that we talked about as well today, will all be in the group. So for you guys, and again, thank you so much, Lyle.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the
chat with me today. All right, ladies, you guys have a good night, and hope to see you guys back next week.
God bless you guys. Bye.